Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Han. I hope you guys are doing well. And you should be watching this video on Friday, November 20th. And I have already started my maternity leave. So I'm not sure. It's kind of one of those weird videos where it's like, if you're watching this, I'm not here anymore. But I am scheduled to have my baby on November 17th. And so I'm already planning on not being with you guys on November 20th. And then the maternity substitute, Mr. Warren, will start right after Thanksgiving break. So today, class is watching this quick recording of me going over what you need to do for week 12. And week 12 is a short week because normally, remember, our weeks start on Wednesday and they end the next Tuesday. But next week, Monday and Tuesday, you're off for fall break. And then, of course, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So class today is just watching me on video, and it's not going to be a long 45-minute session. So let's talk about what you're doing in week 12. And hopefully this is something you already started on Wednesday. So the first thing that you were supposed to do was the identity report, and I want to preview that for you. Um, but before you started the identity report, you actually had to write a journal entry. So let's look at that first quickly. So if you go to Buzz and you clicked on week 12, lesson one was called What's in a Name? And for lesson one, you started by reading this passage called It's My Name from the House on Mango Street, which is actually one of my favorite books. And you read a part of My Name, just one page, where the main character, Esperanza, talks about how she feels about her name. So then once you read that really short, one page, you go on to the next thing in Buzz, lesson one, and it's a watch it video. And guys, I love this video. It's called What's in a Name? It's by this girl named Isha Mathur, and she gives a TED Talk, even though she's just an eighth grader, and she talks about her name and her journey with her name. So you need to read My Name by Sandra Cisneros. Then you need to watch What's in a Name, the video in Buzz, and then you're going to go here, lesson one, the show it journal entry. So if I go to the journal entry here, what you're going to do is after you read it and then watch the video, you're going to answer question A and question B. So question A says, compare and contrast how Esperanza and Isha feel about their names. What struggles have both Esperanza and Isha faced with regard to their names? How do they feel differently about their names now? So to write your journal entry, you're just going to click on the blue new post button I can't see it on my screen because I have a teacher view right now, but you click on the new post and then you write your journal entry. Okay, so that's first. So then lesson two is the identity report. So if you, let's take a look at it. So if you open lesson two, the practice that identity report, it looks like this. And as usual, you're going to make a copy. So your journal entry, you just turn in by typing it straight onto Buzz. But your identity report, instead of submitting a copy, you're actually going to read it out loud in class. And that's the first thing you're going to do with a substitute after fall break. Let's preview this assignment. So first, you've got three parts. Step one is do a little research. Use the internet to research your name's meaning and history. So if your name is Michaela, like mine, or if your name is Mohammed, you can go to these websites and just search what's the meaning of your name. All right, and find if it's a word that has a meaning or where it came from. Did it come from like a book character, a movie character? Does it mean something else? Step two is the interview, and this won't apply to all of you, but it will apply to most of you. So I want you to interview your parents or guardians about why they chose your name. Now, if this doesn't apply to you, like I've had students in the past who are adopted, maybe you don't know the story of your name, and that's totally fine. So if it doesn't apply to you, skip step two. But if it does apply to you, ask your parents, how did they choose your name? What other options did they consider? Did they feel like your name has a significant meaning? And then step three, all of you need to do this on your own. You're going to brainstorm about the following questions and how you feel about your name. So part one, how do you feel about your name now? Do you use a nickname or an alternate version of your name? If so, why do you do that? Has your name ever impacted the way others have perceived you? Do you feel the same way now about your name as you have when you were younger? And then below, in step four, you're going to write at least two paragraphs about your name and the story of your name. Now, before you do that, I want you to go to Buzz and look at the example identity report. And there's this really beautiful one that I have from a couple years ago that I saved. And so you can read the example. This one's longer than yours needs to be. It's one page, but you can read about this girl who wrote about being named Michelle Maria. Um, And that will kind of give you an example of what your identity report should look like. So remember, you're going to bring your identity report to class after fall break. So you have all of fall break to interview and to research. And remember, it only needs to be 2 paragraphs, but you can definitely go as long as a page. Don't write a 10-page paper about your name, but I love this assignment because I love learning about the stories behind your names. Okay, so that's your identity report. So you're going to do your journal entry and your identity report. Don't forget, you must complete your identity report by the end of fall break, and you'll be reading it in class on Tuesday, which is December 1st. So bring it to class. You're going to read it in your breakout groups, and then Mr. Warren will have a couple of you actually read it out loud to the whole class as well, or maybe summarize the story of your name, which is so powerful. Now, the other thing that you're going to start this week is a book called Seed Folks. It's actually called a novella. It's like a novella is like a mini novel. And it's really short because it's only 13 chapters, but every chapter is 1 to 2 pages. So it's not a full-size novel. It's a very short mini novel, and it's called Seed Folks. And I'm going to go ahead and actually read chapter 1 for you right now. But if you want to read it on your own, you can also do that in Buzz. So on the learning plan, it'll tell you to go ahead and read Seed Folks, read chapter 1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 1 for you because it's so important. You cannot understand the book if you do not read the first chapter. So I'm going to read it out loud to you because it's only 1 page. Now, one thing you need to know about Seed Folks is every single chapter is from the perspective of a different person. So by the end, you will have read from 13 different people's perspectives. So the first person, her name is Kim. So let's read chapter 1, Seed Folks by Paul Fleischman. Remember, this chapter is from the perspective of Kim. I stood before our family altar. It was dawn. No one else in the apartment was awake. I stared at my father's photograph, his thin face stern, lips latched tight, his eyes peering permanently to the right. I was 9 years old, and I still hoped that perhaps his eyes might move, might notice me. The candle and the incense sticks lit the day before to mark his death anniversary had burned out. The rice and meat offered him were gone. After the evening feast past midnight, I'd been wakened by my mother's crying. My older sister had joined in. My own tears had then come as well, but for a different reason. I turned from the altar, tiptoed to the kitchen, and quietly drew a spoon from a drawer. I filled my lunch thermos with water and reached into our jar of dried lima beans. Then I walked outside to the street. The sidewalk was completely empty. It was Sunday, early in April. An icy wind teetered trash cans and turned my cheeks to marble. In Vietnam, we had no weather like that. Here in Cleveland, people call it spring. I walked half a block, then crossed the street and reached the vacant lot. I stood tall and scouted. No one was sleeping on the old couch in the middle. I'd never entered the lot before, or wanted to. I did so now, picking my way between tires and trash bags. I nearly stepped onto two rats, gnawing and frozen. Then I told myself that I must show my bravery. I continued farther and chose a spot far from the sidewalk and hidden from view by a rusty refrigerator. I had to keep my project safe. I took out my spoon and began to dig. The snow had melted, but the ground was hard. After much work, I finished one hole, and then a second, and then a third, and I thought about how my mother and sisters remembered my father, how they knew his face from every angle and held in their fingers the feel of his hands. I had no such memories to cry over. I'd been born 8 months after he had died. Worse, he had no memories of me. When his spirit hovered over our altar, did it even know who I was? I dug 6 holes. All his life in Vietnam, my father had been a farmer. Here, our apartment house had no yard, but in that vacant lot, he would see me. He would watch my beans break ground and spread, and he would notice with pleasure their pods growing plump. He would see my patience and my hard work. I would show him that I could raise plants as he had. I would show him that I was his daughter. My class had sprouted lima beans in paper cups the year before. I now placed a bean in each of the holes. I covered them up, pressing the soil down firmly with my fingertips. I opened my thermos and I watered them all, and I vowed to myself that those beans would thrive. Okay. So think about a few things with Kim. Think about this vacant lot, right? And what it tells us about the neighborhood. It's filled with trash bags and a rusty refrigerator. Think about what she's sad about. How can she be sad about her father when she's never met him or known him? So think about this young girl, Kim, and why she's planting the beans and what that means to her. Okay, that's enough for now. Next week, you're going to read chapters 2 through 5, some in class with the substitute Mr. Warren, and some on your own as homework. I will miss you guys. I hope you have a great a great time from Thanksgiving to winter break. I'll see you in January. I'll send Mr. Warren some pictures of the baby to show you guys. But be good for the substitute. Have a wonderful time while I'm gone. Um, Remember, quarter 2 ends and those grades are permanent. So work really, really hard up until winter break because the grades that you get for second semester are permanent and they can't be changed like your first quarter grades that can continue to go up and down. All right, guys, if you need anything, you'll have to talk to Mr. Warren and email him. He is your new teacher now until I return. Um, have an awesome time without me, and I can't wait to see you guys again in January.